Hello everybody, this is the second session for my free Learn Salesforce training. And in this session, I built a fairly sophisticated screen flow where I used a get element, a pretty large input screen, and then an update element. And I also showed how to use a workaround to be able to use a default picklist value in data entry. We talked about variables, and I've shown how to use a record variable to get and update record field values from the database. It got messy at times, and I'm happy it did, because this is how building flows work in real life. And we were able to fix the issues that we have faced, and we were able to finish most of the material that I had prepared for the session. Now, please remember also in the first session, I've given a pretty comprehensive tour of the different flow types. We looked at a very simple screen flow. We built an auto launch flow, and we also looked at record triggered flows. We built a simple before save flow and an after save flow. So in the next session, we are going to be going into loops, as many of you requested. Enjoy the recording. Hello everybody. Thanks for joining me. This is the second session for Learn Salesforce Flows. Let me just turn on my chat window. We had 51 people register, and we are 15 now, 16, and the number is increasing. I'm going to wait a few more minutes before I get started. I hope everybody's doing okay. Again, let me say I'm very grateful that everybody is interested in learning flows. I'm quite passionate about flows, and I'm really happy. The interest is very high for the class. So this is the second session, and I'm going to be doing a total of 6 sessions. And we have a lot to cover today as well. We are going to focus on screen flows. Let me see, I see Chris, I see Rick, Will, Zainab, Heidi, Yancy, Karen, Katie, Jennifer, Charlie, Christian, a lot of people I know. Hello, everybody. Okay, we can get started. Let me try and summarize what we've done last time. Let's recap this. Last time, I gave you a tour of all the different popular flow types, actually. What I was aiming to do is I was trying to show you how to create very simple flows in all the different types and categories. And my objective there was to try to give you the basic understanding of what to use where. And in summary, what we have done over there is we have showed and reiterated that the screen flows are for screen dialogues, obviously. Whenever you have to display something or you have to have the user input information, you need screen flows. The auto-launched flows are running in the background. They can be launched in several ways. They can be tied to a button, a link, something like that. And we have done also record-triggered flows, and record-triggered flows are launched based on record changes or new records being created. And they could be before save flows or after save flows. And what we haven't touched over there is before save flows especially are very, very fast and efficient. In fact, in order of execution, they launch and they kick in before the before save Apex triggers kick in. They are so efficient and fast, you would want to use them. They are limited in functionality a little bit. So in some ways, when you have to do additional operations, you might have to use after save flows. And the difference over there, we said, was whenever you have to do something on a related record, you have to create a related record, or you have to update a related record. Obviously, you need an after save flow, because you have to wait until the record is created, and you are going to use the record ID for that record to be able to create related records. Hello, everybody. Now we are 27 people. So that's the summary for the last session. For those of you who don't know, there are actually two ways of doing these classes. Just wanted to give you a brief information about this. If you're happy with this format, you can continue with this format, no problem at all. We are going to have 6 sessions of about 90 minutes. This is the second session. You can also do a one-to-one tutoring session. The only reason why you would want to do that is if you want me to work with you on your own use case, you can actually sign up for that session. Those sessions cost $45 an hour, but all the proceeds, all the money actually goes to a nonprofit in Jacksonville Beach called Beaches Emergency Assistance Ministries, BEAM. So they are going to go to people in need. Just keep that in mind. If you're happy with this format, you don't really need to go that route, but there is also that option. So what are we going to do today? Let me summarize. We are going to focus on screen flows, and we have a lot of ground to cover. Let me just see is it my internet speed that's not very good? Is the picture is the picture okay? Does it sound okay? Because it seems like my internet speed is showing me an exclamation, or maybe it's not sufficient. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, it's totally fine. Awesome. All right, let's get started. We have a lot of ground to cover. Now, the format that I like to follow with these kinds of sessions is actually, I want to show you first how the flow I'm going to be building works, and then I'm going to build that for you and with you. So let me just share my screen. Hopefully things are not going to break down when I share my screen. We have always the option of turning my camera off if the internet speed is not sufficient. Okay, now do you see my Salesforce screen? Let me just see the chat window. Is there an audio setting? Charlie, what's the question for? You don't hear me? Is that why? Okay. So everybody sees my Salesforce screen. Now, first I want to show you what I've built to prepare for this session, at least the first version. Now, I created a flow called Contact Update Flow, and this flow is a screen flow. Let me just refresh the screen. This is a dev org, nothing special about it. It's winter 21. And I created a flow called Contact Update Flow, which has several versions. We are going to get started with the first version. And what this does, it's a very simple flow of 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. It looks up a contact, gets the contact record, and then presents the information on the screen, and then allows you to update all the fields that are presented, and then updates the contact record. But what's important about this whole type of flow is that we have to get all the error handling covered. We have to do our validations and all that stuff. And we're going to see all that. Now, let me just run this flow for you. Let me run it in debug mode. It's asking me what the first and the last name of the contact is. and I should have a contact there with first name first and last name last. When I hit next, it's going to find that contact record for you. You can see on my debug screen over here. Are you able to read the screen? Is it big enough? So you can see over here the contact ID that it pulled. Now the first version of this one is not really pulling and displaying the information that it found on the record. Instead, it's just going to show me blank fields, but I'm able to update the information on the record by just entering new values. And mobile phone number. So when I hit next, I see here that it updated the records with the information I entered, in this case, it's 777. And actually 10 times the digit 7 is going to be updated to the mobile phone number. So when I go to the contact record here and refresh, I'm going to see that in the details, this contact has been updated to first one, last one, and the mobile phone number is now 7777, and I mean 10 times 7. Now, for those of you who don't know, when you enter into the phone field in Salesforce, all digits, it actually formats the phone number in this format just for display purposes. If you go into the edit mode, you're going to see that the phone number field does not have anything else other than 10 digits. You are able to feed dashes and parentheses and spaces into the mobile phone field, but in this case, we are just feeding it 10 digits only. So let's go ahead and build that flow. So Charlie is now back online. The problem is eliminated. It's hard to read, but it's manageable. Okay, let me just try and make it a little bit bigger, which limits my screen a little bit. It only shows a tiny bit of the screen, but it should be okay. Let's see if that works for us. So let me just create a flow, a new flow to do this. And this is going to be a screen flow. And let's start off with auto layout. And auto layout gives us the start and the end elements automatically. So what we want to do is we want to look up and get a contact record. But to be able to do that, we want to ask the user. Let me just eliminate the header here. We want to ask the user the name of the contact record. Let's call this contact name screen. The screen elements title. And here, what I want to drop in here is actually a text screen component. And this is going to be called full name. So I'm going to ask, let's require this one. You can choose whether to require it or not. And I'm going to ask the user to enter a full name. And then I need to get the contact. That has this full name. I want to tell my get element that I want to get the contact object record, and the full name, there is a field called full name on the contact, equals the full name screen component. Let's sort this one by name. and we want to get only the first record. And let's keep this one. Well, actually, let's do this one. Let's choose fields and assign variables advanced. And where to store field values is going to be in separate variables. And I'm going to store the ID for the contact find into a variable that I'm going to create, text variable, called contact ID. Variable, I gotta choose text type, which I forgot, contact ID. So the reason why I'm choosing this option is this gives me this checkbox that says when no records are returned, set specified variables to null. Now, this is not something I'm going to check for initially, but I'm going to check for that later on. This is something that we didn't get right last time, and we are going to do that this time. So I got my contact record. Now I want to create a screen element where I'm going to ask the user for the new values of all these fields, right? So what did I have on there? I had the first name, I had the last name, I had a mobile phone number. There is actually a phone component here, which is a little bit problematic that I don't like to use. It comes with its own different formatting, and there are some things that it does better, some things it doesn't do that well. So I'm going to be using text for phone entry. And then it had also information about, it had also input fields for address, street address, city, all these are text input, state, and zip. Let's go this far. I created too many unnamed text input fields. Let's start naming them. First name, last name, mobile phone, street address, and city, state, and zip. Now I want to also demonstrate the picklist functionality. Picklists are quite tricky. So I want to also do the lead source on the contact, which is a standard field, it seems. So that's something we can easily use, and you can also follow if you're following me either now or later on based on the recording. So let's choose a pick list over here and then call this one lead source. Now, as a general rule of thumb, you might get confused when to use text, when to use number, unless you are going to add and multiply numbers together. And there are ways you can do that even off of text, but you always go for text. Unless you are going to do enhanced calculations, you go for text. And then, deal with some of the restrictions in your validations. Validations we are going to see in a moment now. Now, we are going to learn how to create the choices in pick lists. Now, when you go down in your pick lists, you are going to see that you can create choices in here. I'm going to go into the first choice window. I can create either single choices. For example, I can create a yes choice, a no choice, I don't know choice. And, all these could be each separate choices that I'm going to create and plug into that dialog over there on the right side on my screen element, or I can go for the picklist choice set. If I go for my picklist choice set, I can say lead source picklist choice set. This is going to be name of the name of the choice set, and I'm going to look this up on the contact object. And the data type is a picklist, not a multi-select picklist. And the field is lead source. And the default order is going to be preserved. I'm not going to sort it differently here. So now this choice set, which consists of multiple choices, are going to be pulled from the record in the field, the object in the field, and it's going to be presented here for me on the screen. So let's say done, and I have errors on my screen. Let's see where I have that. Could be I couldn't name, I didn't name my screen element. That happens to me a lot. Let's call this contact screen input. And save it. Let's go ahead and save our flow as well. Contact update flow. Let's call this one version 2. Version 2. Okay, now debug and see if this works for us, at least so far. We had a first one, last one, contact. So you see that on the right side, it found that contact and it presented all these fields for me. Does my pick list work okay? I can see that the pick list choices are pulling without problem. Web, phone inquiry, partner referral, and so on, right? So do we have any questions so far? Did it freeze for anyone else? Refresh, came back. Why did you use a text component versus the name component? Well, there are some components, lightning components, as they are named, that you can use. Like, for example, the phone component, email component. Those have all their advantages and disadvantages. They work a little bit differently. To be honest with you, unless I have a very good reason, I don't really use those components because there are some disadvantages to them. I mean, I don't even remember off the top of my head what was the problem in each individual case, but we had some hurdles with them. So storing variables. Okay, very good question. It's not clicking for me. Very good. Now I'm going to show you the variables right now. Karen, thank you very much for the response. What about populating the fields with the values from the get? We're going to do that, Rebecca. Yes. Is that coming later? Yes. We're building step by step. Now let's go back to talking about variables. Just a moment. Now, do you see on your screen a picture with a title called Universal Containers, aka Variables? Do you see that? Jennifer says, I prefer text. Yay! Team text. Okay, so you see this. I mean, this is the way I try and explain the variables. Now, the variables are containers. I mean, if you've taken certification exams and, if you've been through a lot of Salesforce material, you know about universal containers, right? So I'm going to try and explain to you the concept of variables with the containers. You've all seen, the container store stuff, the fancy containers that you can get and buy for your drawers. Now, a variable is a simple box or a container where you can sort one type of tool, let's say, in this case. So this is a corkscrew. So if you define your variable as a corkscrew variable, then you can actually store corkscrews in those variables. These could be with white handles, black handles, wooden handles, or red handles. Like they could be slightly different, but they all have to be corkscrews. So those would be your variables of type text. I mean, in other words, string or decimals, integers, Boolean. So if you define your variable Boolean, you have to store Boolean value in that variable. If you define your variable as a string variable, you have to store text in that variable. Or if it's an integer, it has to be number. So it's that concept. Now, the concept of collection variable is actually a collection of n containers. They could be 10 containers, 20 containers, 30 containers that stores different types of tools. They could be all slightly different from each other. In this picture, I actually failed to make that difference. So like I said, one could be red handle, the other one could be blue handle, but they would still have to be all corkscrews, right? So in your container, you are going to keep an n number of those different tools, and you are going to reuse them as you need them later on in your flow. So what's a record variable? That's also an important concept. We are going to come to that later on in this session. A record variable is a collection of different fields that are of certain type. So you can have in your collection variable, this could be a contact collection variable. As you know, contact objects fields are already defined. So there's a first name that's type string, and then there's a last name, and then there's a phone number, and so on. It just goes like that. So if you have a record variable of type contact, you have a collection of different variables of different various types that can hold information of that certain type for you. But it's actually a bundle, a package together that you store values in and then reuse. When you're talking about a collection record variable, again, you're talking about n number of different record variables that contain different values of certain type. So you can have the contact record for Andy, you can have the contact record for Christian, and you can have Jennifer, and all these different record variables can be stored for you to process and use later. So in other words, we're talking about containers. We are storing. Now, the main difference between variables and the values on the Salesforce database is you are actually storing these for the short period of time. And you are going to reuse, and then you are not going to care whether they go away or not. If you want to store them, you want to obviously store the values on your Salesforce database. So does that explain the variables a bit? Let's go back to our flows, folks. Okay, so now we have formed a screen, and what we haven't done yet, we want to update the values on the database, right? So we stored this information temporarily, like we just discussed. And then we are going to update this information on the database. For that, I need an update element, update contact. Specify conditions to identify records. I'm going to update a contact object, and the ID needs to be equal to contact ID that I previously used. And the fields, first name, on the contact record is going to be assigned from the screen component. That's called first name. So you got to go down to your screen components and look for the first name that you have just collected. So this is, you can think of this as a variable that stores the information that comes out of that screen component. So last name is going to come from my last name screen component. Mobile phone is going to come from mobile phone on my screen. Let's do the street address. There are multiple addresses on the Salesforce platform. Most commonly, we usually use mailing street and mailing address fields, but you can also use billing and other address fields based on your use case. Street address screen component. City, mailing city. Now, zip is usually called postal, so that's how you want to search. Sometimes zip doesn't bring it up. City, we haven't done state. And state is a pick list, mailing state. And it displays here as state, but it's actually a pick list. It displays as text. So let's save this screen. Let's save this flow. Do we have any error messages? We haven't received any error messages. And let's debug this one more time. First one, last one. Is that what we updated the name last to? Yes, we have actually a contact record, first one, last one. Let's update this one all the way down. First, last. And let's call this one partner referral. And as you can see, all these values have been updated on the database. Let's refresh the screen. You can see the address updated. Lead source is web, and the phone number is 77, and the name has been updated to first last. So that works. Now, the interesting thing about screen flows is, you know how you have fields of certain types on the object record, and you might have validations, obviously, on those fields as well. Now, Flow doesn't know any of that stuff. If you try to collect some information on your flow that doesn't go by the validation rules or doesn't follow the field type that's on the object record, you are going to get error messages. And it's not going to stop gracefully. It's going to be quite catastrophic from the viewpoint of the user. So what you want to do is you want to use validations on all these fields. That's the tricky part here with your screen. Now, first name, you want to validate the input. And what I usually do is I copy and paste all that stuff from a Word document or from a flow. I have actually created a blog post that has a lot of the typical validations that I use that you can use as well. I'm going to paste the link here into the chat. Oh, the lead source didn't update? Okay, we'll check that. I just saw that. So this blog post already includes most of the validations I'm going to use today. So what you want to do here in your validations is you want to say, for example, there's actually a maximum length associated with most of these fields. You can Google that, and it's available on, I think, the developers Salesforce site. You can find all the different fields and their maximum lengths. So for our purposes, I'm going to say your input. Well, actually, I just let me just have this one. I'll copy this one from my Word document. Now, pro tip: if you want to copy things and paste things in here, if you don't want the formatting to be carried over from a Word document, let's say, paste as plain text, because this is enhanced formatting, and then you end up with various different formatting, different fonts for your messages and so on. And when you're doing here your validation rules, what you want to do is, in this case, this is a text field. You want to insert the field name into a length function and then say, I want this input to be less than 40 characters. Now, the tricky thing with validation rules within Flow is when your formula holds true, there is not going to be an error message displayed. So here, the logic is actually exactly the opposite of what you would do inside your validation rules for your objects and your page layouts. When you're working inside Salesforce, the way you would do this, you would define your condition that should display the error message. Here, you are defining the condition that actually tells the system what is the condition that you want to apply for the field to be acceptable. So if the length of the first name is less than 40, it's not going to display any message. If it's not less than 40, it's going to display this message over here. So I want to do this one for last name. Again, validate input. Again, insert my resource from here as last name and less than 40 characters. And mobile phone. Now, mobile phone is tricky. That you can find on the blog post. And what you want to be using over there is this over here. And I'm going to tell you what that means just in a moment. So I actually prefer for my users to enter a 10-digit phone number, and I wouldn't like for them to include any spaces, dashes, or parentheses, which Salesforce can accept, but I don't really want to do that. So what I'm saying in here is the length of phone number, and I just want to make sure that this is correct because I copied and pasted it, and which is not correct because I used, I think, as the field name mobile phone number. Let me just insert that. Yes. So length of mobile phone has to be 10. It cannot be shorter than 10. It cannot be longer than 10. This is an advanced regex formula that essentially says it has to be all digits. This is something that you can use, reuse, copy over. I'm not an expert in this myself, but I mean, it just works best. As you can see over here, it's actually showing already an error message that the phone number doesn't exist. It went away when I changed it to a mobile phone number. Let's see if we have any questions. Why not just use the validations under these cells? Is it so they get an error message before submitting? It's opposite of SF. This always gets me. That's just mean. I love the reactions. Yes, it is mean. Yeah, well, what happens is if you allow your user enter anything and then you try and update, on the update state, on the update element, you get an error message, you get an email to the admin or whoever created the flow, and then the whole thing fails. So, and if you're not catching that error, if you don't have like an error handling built into your flow, it's just gonna just fail ungracefully. So you just don't want to do that. You want to be able to catch all the stuff here. So street address should be checked for length. City should be checked for length. State is a little bit different and tricky. So state generally could be a pick list or it could be a text. So in this case, we have chosen to make this text. And what we can do here is there are formulas out there, you can look them up, that hard codes all the different state values, which is probably not best practice. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to ask for for the user to use just two capital letters in their entry, which doesn't guarantee if I'm using a pick list in the background that I'm not going to have an error message. So, if you're using a pick list, then you have to provide the best way for you to do is you need to provide all the choices from your pick list. So what this one over here says is the state field cannot be blank. The state field cannot be in a length other than 2. It cannot be 3 or 1 or 0. And the state has to be uppercase, and all these conditions have to hold true for this to work. Now, I need to double check again whether I called my field state up here, because I pasted this one. Yes, I called it state, so this should work. When I come to zip, again, I would like for my users to enter either 5 digits or the 10-character format, including dash. So I'm going to paste here this message. And again, from the same blog post, I'm going to use the formula for zip, which is a regex formula. How do you say this one? Regex or regex? Or I'm not exactly sure. I don't know how you would respond to that on the chat, but hey. Okay, now is my field called zip here? Yes, actually it's small case. Is that a problem? Let's double check this one. Yeah, I think this is the correct one. So what this says is you have to accept only digits, and they can be in 5 digits plus 4 digits, and then in between dash format. So that's what this essentially is. For the pick list, I don't really need any other validations because it's already presenting the choices. So I'm done here. And then we had also the observation that we weren't updating the lead source. Yes. Do we have the lead? Yeah, the state field, of course, I got confused here. The state field is text, it's not pick list. So I'm updating the mailing state with state. And lead source, I haven't even included in here, which I need to. Yes, lead source is a pick list. Now this is complete. Let's save this one. are we going to have errors? No, we didn't really see any errors. And let's debug this one. So I think the last operation we have done, we again changed the first and last name to first and last. Yes, it found the record. Let's update everything. And in the meantime, I'm going to show you what the validations do if I actually enter information incorrectly. Now, for example, I'm going to start entering phone numbers with parentheses and dashes. In fact, let me put an extra digit in here. Street address, city. We didn't really put any validations in here, but we did put validations in here in state field, and then zip field, zip 33333. And then here again, choose partner referral and then hit next. And you are going to see that we are going to have multiple error messages here. As you can see, the format of the error messages are all different. So you can actually pick the color and the font size here. And I failed to paste my messages in here as text. And that's why they all show differently. So I have to bring that in line if I'm going to use this like for a customer, let's say. So here, let me update this information. Here, change this one to FL, and then here, delete the extra digit. And now I have updated the record. So how are we doing so far? Let me just see. Yes, state should be Picklist. Yes, state should be Picklist, of course. There's actually state and country Picklists that you can activate. It's a setting that you can activate in your instance. And yes. Okay, so let's go to our record again and double check that it updated correctly. All right, so we've updated the first last name. The phone number is updated. The address is updated. And the lead source this time is partner referral. So because we fixed that, now we have also the partner referral updated. Where do you pick color and size, Jennifer? Okay, well, let me just show you. Oops. Let me just turn this Twitter off. The color and size is picked right here. What I prefer to do, if I can actually paste without formatting, I just would like Salesforce to take the default, if that's possible. But some clients are quite picky, and they want red, they want a certain font size, they want italic. Or so here, when you go to your message, validate input message, you see there's actually a font selection, there's size, there's color, there's bold, italic. You can even choose whether it's going to be in bullet format, indented, and that kind of stuff. Now, sometimes this actually doesn't take. That's the interesting part as well. You know, I've seen in the past where I changed this, and I had to change it 2 times, 3 times for it to take. I don't know why it does that. So you can go here, and then you can say, I want this red. Go all the way here on your color scale. And if you accept this, maybe I forgot to hit OK over there. Now, sometimes there are also multiple places you have to hit OK. That throws me off sometimes as well. Let me just double check. First name, validate input. Yes, it worked. It took, there's no other okay here. So when you save this one, it's going to display that message in red. Yes, Karen, thank you very much. Now, the next question was, aren't we going to get the values from the record or display the record values from the object record? Yeah, of course we should. We haven't done that yet. Now, what I like to do there are multiple ways of doing that, but first, let's go ahead and add the step where we are checking whether we found the record or not. That's another problem that you can experience in the screen flow, where if you do not provide the exact first and last name that's available on the system, this is going to again throw an error. So you don't want that. So let's save this one as a new version and add a decision element in here. And this decision is going to check, is contact ID null? So outcome, yes, null. The contact ID, I used to store the contact ID, and you remember I checked the checkbox over there to say, if you don't find any records, go ahead and assign null to contact ID. So I'm going to say, is null true? And the default outcome, I always change the default outcome's title. It's better that way, you know, I don't get confused. So it's going to give me two branches. Now I'm going to have to get out of auto layout to be able to fix this here. So I want to continue when it's not null. So yes, null branch is going to have to be deleted. So I want to only continue processing if the record has been found. Now the other branch I can assign to a screen where I will display, you know, a contact with this first and last name could not be found. Or I can continue on that branch and ask whether the user wants to create a new contact with that information and so on. But we're not going to go into that for now. So we've taken care of that. Now we know we have actually a contact. Now we haven't pulled any of that information, any of the various different fields from the contact. So the way I do this, like I said, you can do this in several different ways. I do actually another get. The first get is to get the ID and then check whether I can find a contact with the condition provided. And the second one is going to get all the necessary fields. Now, in this case, I want to, again, pull the same contact record. And this time, instead of choose fields and assign variables, sort by ascending, let's call ID. And instead of choose fields and assign variables, I'm going to choose automatically store all fields. This didn't used to be available. You had to create what we call the record variable, and then you had to store all your information in your record variable. So you have to create a contact record variable to assign all your field values to. Now, Salesforce takes care of that automatically for us. Now, if I choose automatically store all fields, in the background, it actually creates a record variable for me to store all that information. So I want to continue again to verify if the contact ID is not null, and I want to pull all the field values. So let's see if I created any more questions here. Will that control label? I've been cheating with display text, so it was the solution. Yeah, why not just do a single get and see if the record is blank? Well, that's a solution as well. I don't know if that works. Charlie, what you might have with your validations, let me just see the postal code validation over here. Go ahead and double check whether your quotes are straight quotes or not. That's the most common issue when you copy paste or when you type. Sometimes some platforms or some word processors actually they change those to curly quotes, and then that creates a problem. So Rebecca, how do you make sure without getting any errors, do a single get and make sure that you have found the record? How does that work? Can you teach me? Tell me on the chat, please, because I haven't found that to work 100% of the time, and I haven't been doing it, so I might be wrong. So we can do it as well that way. I mean, if it works, why not? Of course, because doing a single get is obviously more efficient. So now, what I can do is I can go to my screen element, and I can start using the default values. And for that, my get contact step has created and given me all the record variables, the field values under the record, and I can use those. So I go on under get contact record variable, and then I look for first name. And when I plug this in, it's going to get the first name from the record. Default value, get contact record, last name, default, get contact, mobile, get contact, street. Let's do the zip. For the lead source, for the pick list, we have to do something different, something special. It's actually a workaround. So I'm going to show you that, but it takes a little bit time to be able to do that. It gives you get contact ID. If you check to see get contact ID, no, is null, true, then there is no record. Can I post a screenshot? Rebecca, you can send your screenshot to andy@brdpro.com, so I can actually display it here. Awesome, that works reliably. I don't know why I have that experience, or I thought it didn't work reliably, so I don't have to do this right now. Thank you very much, Rebecca. I learned something new today. So this is just a field where you learn something new every day, which is fantastic. So now we have done all that. Let's debug this and see if this works. You know what? I got tired with first and last. Let's use Selena Kyle in our example. So I want to look up the Selena Kyle contact. No, it didn't find the record. Let me just see something. I might have done something wrong, or let me just try with first one, last one. Okay, so there is a problem with my logic here. So what did we say here? We are asking for the contact name. Oh, okay, our decision element is before our get, the first get. This is ridiculous, obviously. So just a moment. So delete this one. And if we get the time, we'll just fix this to Rebecca's method. Okay, now debug again. Failed to find records. First one, last one. Let's try with I really messed this up, didn't I? Because look, this is actually the second get I wanted to use, not the first get. Oh, what a mess. Sorry about that, folks. All right, so this is the first get contact to see whether the record was there. And this is the second get, not null. All right, save, debug. Okay, so we got the screen working, but it's not pulling the information. Let's see why that is. So get contact, it found the record. Default outcome is executed. And then fast lookup successfully found the records. First name, yes. Why is it not displaying that information? First name, last name, mobile phone, mailing street. Oh, silly. The Selena Kyle doesn't have any values in those fields. All right. First one, last one. Okay, yeah. So we have all the information now presented with the exception of lead source, because lead source is a pick list, and unfortunately Salesforce doesn't give any standard way of preserving the default when dealing with pick lists. So any questions so far? So next step, we are going to do the pick list default values with the workaround. Does anybody want to come on and ask their questions with on video or live? There is a way. This is the way. Yes. Mandalorian. You can't display the pick lists. Yeah. Christian, I don't know if you're talking about the same method or not, but I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to show how I do it, I mean. That's the next step. So do you have any questions so far? Okay, I don't see any other questions. I'm going to continue with the pick lists. All right, let me just show you how the pick list is done first. Let me get out of this. Let me save this one, make sure that it's saved, version 2. Let me get out of this. So when I prepared for this session, and I previously built this one, I built it right here in this step over here. Oh, we forgot one thing. We need to change our update step as well. Now the update of the update step doesn't really need to include the individual fields, right? Because we were not dealing with an automatically generated record variable before. We picked one by one which fields we wanted to update. We don't really need to do that anymore. So let's go ahead and do that before we go into default pick list values. Version 2. Okay, now open this one. Let's go here. Let's save this one as a new version. Here is my update contact step. And this is what I have done over here. Assign the first name, screen, input value to first name, last name to last name. You know what? I don't need any of that anymore. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say I want to update from a record, and I'm going to use the contact record from my get contact record step. So this is the record variable that was automatically created and generated for me. So I'm just going to use that. And when I do that, it's going to still do my updates. See right here? The only one thing that doesn't work this way is you are going to need to assign your pick list value as far as I can remember. So you know how you have your screen here and then you had your user pick list value here? So this one needs to be assigned to the record variable field before the update happens. Let's go back to the other flow I built, the version 1. It's right here. Update record variable is this one. I didn't really use an update. I didn't really use a assign. As far as I remember, you need to use an assign. What do you guys think? I can't remember. Where you assign the screen fields to update the contact record. Did I miss that? Yeah, I need to assign all of them, right, Rebecca? Yeah, I need to assign all of them. So that I missed when I was preparing for the session. So in this example, what we need to use, you are right. What we need to use is the assign element, where it's not only the pick list, we need to assign all of those. So let's go back. Let's go to the version 2. Open. Oops. Okay. Now here, right after the screen, element, we gotta use an assign step, assign fields. And then in this one, we gotta say, okay, first, get contact first name equals the screen component first name. Get contact last name equals screen element last name. Get contact mobile equals mobile. I am in the wrong flow. This is not the one I've been building. Just a moment. Now things got a little bit complicated and confused. Yes, this is the one I used to prepare for the session. The field names could be different, so let me just go back to this one right here. Okay, this is where I left off. Do I have any other flows open? I need to close these screens just so that I don't get confused any further. Okay, so here, yeah, I'm on version 2 now. Right after screen, let me just add again the assign step. Last name. Yes, now we are on track. City equals city. State equal state. And zip code is assigned. And what else did we have? We had lead source. Okay, now we should be okay. Let me see if we have any other fields. First name, last name, mobile, street, city, state, zip, lead. I think we're okay. Did I miss anything out? Did I leave anything out? It doesn't look like I did. Let's save this one. Let's test this one again. As you see, the information came back. Let's change this to 555 and street, Rocky Road, Rock City, Arizona 44444. And this is partner referral again. So let's see if that worked for us. Yeah, it seems like it pretty much updated all the information I can see. So that worked, guys. That worked, folks. Now, what we have left to do is, I appreciate your attention here. It's been 1 hour and 15 minutes, quite a long time. What we need to do is also the default pick list value. Let's go ahead and finish that one. Unless you have a question. If you have a question, go ahead and ask your question. So let me just show you the pick list, default pick list trick over here, where I have already built first, and then if we have enough time, we are going to go build it together as well. Now, the trick here is going to be contact update flow. And here on version 4, I did the default pick list values. The trick is here is going to be this. So what you're going to do here, you are going to create in your pick list another choice. So this is your lead source field, and your lead source field had only one choice presented here, which is your lead source pick list choice set, right? This is the one that goes and pulls up for you, looks up for you all the pick list values that are available on the field already. Now, what you're going to do is you are going to introduce another choice here, lead source default choice. And this is actually incomplete here. You got to choose lead source default choice as the default choice here. And this lead source default choice is going to look up and bring for you, using a formula, the pick list value that's on the object record. And the way we do that is we create a choice. You say, I want a new resource, and I want to create a choice. And here you enter a text. So this is the one that I have created called lead source default choice. Now, if you enter a formula in here, it's not going to work. For that reason, you need to create a text formula somewhere else. You need to create a text formula resource. and then plug in that text formula here, both in your choice label and choice value, right? And this formula is right here. Let me just show you. Reads like this. So what you're doing is you're constructing an if statement, and you're saying if my pick list value is empty, it's not already selected, and to be able to evaluate that here against an empty string, you need to convert your pick list value to a text. So if text parentheses get contact record lead source equals an empty string, then go ahead and display please choose on the screen as your default pick list value. If your pick list value has already been chosen and selected, it's not empty, then go ahead and convert your pick list, selected pick list value to text and display that one. So what does that do for me? So it is going to show the already selected partner referral as default choice, but it is going to create actually another redundant, repetitive choice. The partner referral already is available down here as well because it's pulling all the available options from the pick list. And the first one I'm constructing using the text formula and presenting one more time the already selected partner referral choice. This is the hack or workaround that you use to be able to display the default choice. Any questions there? Did I lose people? I don't see any questions. Yeah, you are here. Okay, no questions? Okay, now one thing we need to do here though is what is going to happen when the field is not filled in, right? So let me go back to this first and last record. First and last record has already a pick list value for partner referral. I'm going to delete that to show you what's going to happen. Not selected, save, when that field is not filled in already. You are going to be presented with a string, with a text that says please choose. So the formula that we use is going to construct when there is no pick list value chosen, a string that shows please choose, and if the pick list value is already assigned, it's going to use that value to be displayed as a default value. Now the problem with this one is if I leave this like this and then try and proceed the screen, unless I catch the error, the problem, it's going to create a problem. Actually, my flow is going to end up in an error, and it's just going to abandon. So I need to catch that. Please choose is not one of the valid options that I can feed into my object record field. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a custom error handling that's going to show me, please select a valid picklist choice on the screen. And how do I do that? I have here a decision element that checks whether the lead source screen component equals please choose or not. So if the lead source screen element equals please choose, then it's going to kick the user back to the same screen. But when doing that, assign to an error message variable, please select a valid picklist choice. And that error message variable is included here on the screen inside a display text component. This is my display text component, and my error message here is inserted as a resource. My error message variable is inserted here as a resource, and it's actually painted red. And whenever there's a value inside that variable, that's going to show up on my screen. Whenever there's no value, nothing will show on the screen, so that the error message won't show. Oh, what would be a use case for this flow? Updating contact info seems pretty straightforward, and I'm not sure how this flow increases efficiency. Well, Charlie, great question. It doesn't actually make anything easier here. Great use cases for flows are when you have to have external users update some information. They could be community users. They could be guest users on communities or Visualforce pages. So you can use flows to be able to do that. Another great use case inside Salesforce is when you have to have a scripted multiple screen data entry that updates information on multiple object records. So imagine you want to ask the user multiple questions about the contact and the account they belong to, and you want to update some fields on the contact and some fields on the account. And to even expand on that, you might want to create a case off of that dialogue. You might want to present some static test to the user for them to be able to read that to the client. For example, think about a financial advisor and they are talking to the client face to face. Think about a call center agent. This is the most common use case for screen flows. That's why I think screen flows were made, is mostly for call center agents. You can actually have scripts that the agents can use, and at the same time, you can have input screens that you can use multiple screens to update multiple contact records. Why we use a formula for lead source default value? Okay, so why did we use a formula? To be able to preserve the default value, we had to create a separate choice. Now, the way the flow works, you need to, based on dealing with flows for a while, you are going to be able to understand a little bit how flows work. The flows do not evaluate everything all the time. Like they won't compute and calculate everything all the time. Like, for example, if you try and insert a formula inside a choice, that is not going to work, and it's not going to compute. So in this example, what we need to enter here, what flow is expecting for us is to enter a static text in here, or a variable that is of type text, and that value is going to be assigned to the choice label and choice value. And that is going to be computed in this formula that we have constructed. So once this computes, it's going to go ahead and update that choice, and that choice is going to be displayed on that screen. Yeah, a newbie still taking it all. This is a little bit advanced, but you are going to have to see it, try it a couple of times to be able to master it. So I mean, every time you hear it, you see it, it helps me now. Christian, is there a way for when they type the phone number value in the flow, it will automatically adjust it to the way you want to format that field? Yes, you can parse it yourself. You can actually have, you can allow, the way you would do, Christian, is you would have a text field, and then your text field is going to parse using formulas all the digits. It will extract the digits out. It will find if there is parentheses, right parentheses, left parentheses. It will strip those out. You can actually update the field with only digits based on that. Or another way of doing that, that's how I do it. On the same blog, I have a before save flow that I use that changes the phone number field every time a user enters a phone number. It strips out all the parentheses, blank spaces, and the dashes out of it. So it only leaves digits in it. That's what I use. That way, I can make sure, regardless of where the user enters the information, either flow or on Salesforce itself, it's always digits. Will you explain loops in a different session? Yes, we are going to explain loops next time. So I haven't even gone that far. I had an ambitious schedule here. I was going to show you, let me just show you very briefly a teaser, let's say, of what would happen if you are dealing with multiple records. Multiple related records in a screen flow. Now, to expand on this example, let's use Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is in here. And on Bruce Wayne's record, we have actually cases. The first case is all changes up for Batmobile. And then we have customer unhappy, it's too hot under the helmet. Customer complaint, costume too tight. All right? Let's have some fun with this. Now, here, I have built a flow. I have expanded the flow functionality to present. Now, right after all this that we have already built together, the flow is going to go to another screen. And on that screen, I am going to present all the cases that the record, the contact record is associated with, and present those as a radio button. And I'm going to ask whether the user wants any of these cases to be closed. So you can actually select a case that already exists, and then you can check a box, and then that box is going to tell the Salesforce system that that case needs to be closed. Now, how do I do that? On my screen, I include a radio button, and that radio button is going to use a case record choice set. I'm going to use a choice set to be able to present all the different choices under the radio button. And the case record choice set looks like this. So I want to create a choice set of object type case where contact ID equals the contact ID I've been using all along, and the status of the case is not closed. I want to exclude the closed cases. And I want to present all the cases descending based on created date and display the subject, but store the contact ID in a couple other fields when this case is selected. So what does that do for me? Just a quick teaser, let's say. We are not going to spend a lot of time on this today. Bruce Wayne. This is all the information that came from the record that I could update. Now, when I hit next on the right side, I see that the record has been updated. And then I was presented with the open cases under the Bruce Wayne record. You see that there is an oil change up for Batmobile. That's the only case that's open. The other ones I've closed in my testing prior. I don't see it here, but I need to go in it to be able to show you. Case closed. As you can see, the other case is closed. And I also included a none choice that's here in my screen. When I go into my radio button, I see I have created a static none choice so that, I don't have to process a case every time. And I can select this and I can say, mark this case closed. I hit next. And then this case is going to be marked closed. Status closed, updated. Let's see if that worked. Oops, I'm sorry, related cases. Oil change for Batmobile, closed. Customer unhappy, already closed. I think the case status is in the hover information, so it's here. Closed, closed, closed. Now, if I run this flow one more time, debug this one more time, I'm going to see that none of the cases are going to show because all the cases are closed now. None. So what we can do next time is we can actually loop through these cases and aggregate some of the information, process them. We can update them. So let me just see all the comments here. So better put a validation that says can't be, please choose, so we don't have a bunch of contacts with please choose. Yeah, so we have done that. So that's the if that's checking for that. Could a validation rule be used instead of that custom error handling? A validation rule cannot be, can it be used? Oh no, there is no validation in picklists, if I'm not mistaken. Let's check. Screen. Oops, this is the wrong screen. So when I go to my contact info screen, and I'm going to my pick list of lead source, I see that there is no validation section that's presented here in this field. There is component visibility, but there is no validation. So, I mean, we are using kind of a workaround and a hack. In a normal scenario, you're not going to have this kind of problem. You're not going to need a validation in a pick list field. You like the error message trick? Yeah, I mean, You can use a separate screen to present an error message and then kick them back. But this works actually better, Jennifer, because sometimes you have multiple pick lists on the screen, and then you can drop all these different error message variables in various places on your screen. And, that provides a similar functionality to the existing validation. Thank you. I have early morning, so I need to drop out. Yeah, of course. Thank you. I have to hop off. Yes. Thank you. And I look forward to watching this again. Okay.